Hello everyone, welcome to our next video series, and I'm very delighted to introduce a dear friend of mine and a dear friend of the Bags of Ethics brand, Christopher Raeburn, the creative director and founder of Raeburn. Welcome, Christopher. Thank you for joining us.
Very happy to be here. Yeah, looking forward to the conversation. Absolutely.
So to give everyone, we've been involved and working together for nearly 10 years now, and you have really made a seismic impact, not only in the British fashion industry, but globally around how consumers can engage sustainably with design and fashion. But for those who don't know about the Raeburn brand, can you tell me a little bit about your philosophy, your values, your history?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, the best thing I can do, because we're here in the Raeburn lab in East London, we're over in Hackney, is show people, because our business is focused on what we call responsible design. And we work in three different ways. We call it remade, reduced, or recycled. And in fact, everything that you see in the studio space here is either remade from something else. So loads of parachutes, beautiful silk mats, everything from Eurostar seat covers to life rafts, all of this stuff that already exists, we deconstruct and rework into useful, wearable things again. But if we only did that, and all of the pieces are actually sewn here, all of the remade pieces are made right here at the lab. And if I ask Mika and the team to give us a little wave, there we go. So every day is completely different, but we focus here at the Raeburn lab on the remade aspect. But if we only did that, we'd be quite small. So we introduced two further parts of the collection, one that we call Reduced, which is a real focus on local manufacturing, it's on waste reduction, and it's about really high quality products, particularly jersey, knitwear. And then finally, as I mentioned, we do recycled products. So all of those plastic bottles we're diligently recycling. They, of course, can be chipped, made into pellets, made into fiber, and then we make them into jackets and accessories. So in simple terms, as I mentioned, we call it the 3 R's, and this is our ethos. So remade, reduced, and recycled. And then in the middle, you've got the Raeburn as well. So there you go. That's the last 12 years of my life in 2 minutes.
Well, I mean, that's a perfect Venn diagram. And I think what I've always been so inspired by and humbled by is that you've always simplified and made the concept of sustainability accessible, whether it's, making everyday products for the house or home or what you wear. You make it very accessible, but always with a focus on design. And you've been very crystal clear about this threefold mission of reduce, remake, and reduce. And that's completely inspired our business. And we've obviously been working together for nearly 10 years. And I've been very lucky to dig out from the archives some of the projects that we've worked with. So this was a beautiful tote bag that you designed for Graduate Fashion Week, which we did in 4 colorways. And then we also worked together for the Victoria and Albert Museum here in London, and these beautiful sort of totes that were sold in the gift shop. And I know that this print you've also used on the uniforms for the V&A. And it was basically this time last year. So we're in the sort of June 2021, but June 2020, I remember sort of calling you up and I said, Christopher, we're in the middle of this horrific pandemic. And I feel that we need to do something where we can captivate the British audience and global audience to think about how we can reduce the transmission of the virus, but do it in a really sustainable way, but also in a design-focused way. And fast forward a year later, we launched together, this was all because of you and our friendship, the Great British Designer Face Coverings Project, in partnership with the British Fashion Council. And I've got one of your amazing second design face masks here, in which I'd love for you to tell our audience a little bit about the project and why you chose this print, and also this incredible, lovely, supportive message on the back.
Yeah, so I mean, the first thing, if I take a step back to being in lockdown in 2020, I think ultimately as a business that's trying to do positive things every day, we were looking at how we could best support the various initiatives that were happening to support, of course, the NHS, the reality of what was really a very, very difficult situation, continues to be today. And one of the things that we realized quite quickly when we were considering some of the initiatives around PPE, for example, and sewing, and with that within Raeburn, because we use lots of parachutes, we weren't really well versed in let's say, cotton and the material needed for that side of things. And so when I think I got your call to begin with, or it might have been a WhatsApp to say, hey, maybe there's something we can do together around face coverings. And then immediately when you and I started talking, and I understood the science behind it and your unique positioning, because of course, your family connections and everything else, really being able to validate the fact that face coverings were going to be a really pivotal part of the way that we were going to combat COVID. And the interesting thing, of course, is that all of this was way before the government were doing anything or talking about anything. And as you say, really, it was the height of the first lockdown. And it was while we were still kind of scrabbling a little bit to work out all the best ways to connect everyone and how we could do all of this positivity together. But above everything, we wanted to do something, right? And we knew that we could quickly galvanize a combination, I think, of design, of that positivity, of the opportunity to scale, and about making a meaningful difference together. And all of those things really appealed. And to come through to the design itself within Raeburn, we've always had this sort of quite iconic camouflage spots design within our work. It kind of comes and goes. And so we wanted to rework this. And if you look closely, it's actually a map, a global map, of course, of the world in different scales. And then the blues that you see there are different hues used by the NHS. So they're all of the correct colours for the NHS. And then on the back there, you've got for community through creativity. And that's what we're all about as a brand. So it's this opportunity to bring all of this together, the design, creativity, craft, community, and really make a difference. And because the whole project was, of course, for charity as well, I'm really proud about how that's developed. But I think all the stats and how things have gone from there.
I mean, well, I do remember, sending you a WhatsApp in the middle of the night in sort of March last year. And I said, we've got to do something, Christopher. Are you on board? And it was just this sort of mad moment of, can we do this? And we set out a mission. We did set out a mission to talk about face masks in a way which wasn't happening at the time. We were almost very much ahead of the game in the UK about knowing how important face masks or face coverings would be. And we launched the project on the 5th of June. And it was the sort of morning after when the government actually woke up to the request by the WHO, World Health Organization, to say that face masks would be mandatory for people sort of going to shops. So our timing couldn't have been better, but it was something that we'd been working on for a few months as a very small team, and it was a real sort of kind of moving monster at times, but it was through your kindness, through your partnership, through your confidence of working with us as an organization, that we kind of scaled and brilliantly, we've raised well over £1 million for charity, which is a seismic effort that, it was in our dreams, but we didn't know if we could ever achieve. And it was incredible sort of for our teams to sort of write these big checks to the British Fashion Council Foundation Fund and for NHS charities together. And I know that you've donated thousands of face coverings to your local community. And spawning from this project, you worked to support Selfridges on their Project Earth mission and doing the face coverings for their staff as well. So I think what we've captivated. Yeah,
it's the foundation of all of this. It's just about positive intent, right?
Yeah,
you start out and you want to do something that's good, and then the positive ripples that have happened from that project. And it's brilliant to hear you list all of those things that happened afterwards and continue to. The reality is that we're still going to be needing to carry on wearing face coverings in some capacity, I think, for the foreseeable future. And so, the project really has a great opportunity, I think, to continue doing good, basically. And I try to keep things very simple, that's our mission. And so, I'm so kind of pleased and proud about how things have developed.
It was a very, very proud moment for both of us as people. And I think, the clarity of vision for anyone watching, I think any parting comments that I can give about this project is that if you really have good intentions, and if you have the will and the hard work to want to make it happen, you really can make miracles happen. Just the production process of this piece of, what seems like a very simple item is actually extremely complicated. And to go into a bit of detail, we requested you to do an all-over repeat print design so that we wouldn't waste fabric. Again, part of that mission to reduce waste in terms of materials. This was an organic cotton sateen fabric, so it would have to have a sort of tight weave so that the transmission of air droplets from your mouth and your nose wouldn't get through, but it should also be sensitive to, soft to sensitive skin, and to also allow people to kind of breathe as well, because we didn't want people to feel like they were feeling almost suffocated by this face mask. And then we had to make the adjustable straps on the side and make them universal for different faces. There were so many elements of the project, which the team in Pondicherry, the women and the men, really mastered in a very short space of time, retooling their stitching machines, retooling their printing machines, making sure that the inks weren't transferred onto the face and that they were washable. A huge amount of research and development went into creating this very beautiful product, which the British public and global audience really responded to in such a positive way.
Yeah. How many have been made in total now?
I actually don't know the exact figure, but I would say, several 100,000 have been made in order for us to make such a significant donation. I should have that number at the tips of my fingers, but I don't.
I didn't mean to put you on the spot. But...
No, it's fine. But I think it goes to show, these were listed in ASOS, in Boots, in Sainsbury's, in John Lewis, in Waitrose, on Amazon, in Zalando. Globally, we had people all over the world purchase these items, and they really have made an incredible impact. It got featured in Vogue, on the BBC several times, or the government listed it as a creative project that they were so proud to be associated with. It had a huge ripple effect. And I know, having spoken to the British Fashion Council, that it's actually given grants to 71 designer businesses, which faced huge sort of financial turmoil. And so our mission to support businesses across the creative industry continues. But yeah, the facts speak for themselves, really.
Yeah, absolutely. It's brilliant again to go through that list, and yeah, particularly I think, we were and continue to be one of those relatively small designer brands that's had an incredibly challenging year, and the fact that again that there's been such kind of support that has happened through this project as well. It's incredible. And I suppose that was always our interest through Raeburn. Our mission: change the world through responsible design. In order to change the world, you have to do things on scale.
Yes.
And that was a really big component to our early conversations. I knew straight away from the clarity that you had with the way you presented the potential product, the way that we'd be able to develop them, importantly, the way we'd be able to manufacture them, scale them, get them to the UK, get them to other parts of the world if needed. All of that stacked up, immediately. So putting all of our efforts into then perfecting a really good product, because ultimately it's still all about the product, right? Someone needs to walk into Sainsbury's or Waitrose or any of those other brilliant partners that you mentioned and go, oh, that's cool, I want to wear that. It's really important. And I think we've kind of nailed it. And one of the things that you haven't mentioned, which I'm really proud of, is that it got one of the Which Awards as well. And that's a really big deal, right?
It's a huge deal. That was also a sort of surprise. I think what was very cool is that celebrities and friends and ambassadors of various different, fashion brands responded and said, look, we're proud to wear this. But this wasn't a flash in the pan kind of product. This really had validity, and independent mystery shoppers actually went and bought these face coverings, ranked them against other face coverings that were out in the market. And incredibly, we won the Best Buy status, not once, but twice. So we've just been reaccredited the Best Buy Which status. which gives huge amounts of confidence. When we speak to the factory managers and hundreds of workforce know that they have worked incredibly hard to ensure that this product is robust, that it's reusable, washable, has all of the sustainability credentials, but people are wearing them. And I think when we set out our mission, Christopher, we said, it had to be an affordable item. And for 3 face coverings and 2 protective pouches for £15 as a retail price, really, it was a bargain for consumers to have a piece of designer print, which is, absolutely stunning. I've got one to match my sort of floral dress by Preen here. And, it has become a fashion accessory, but with all of the components of being affordable, sustainable, and attractive, I think those were the key ingredients for success. So moving on from this, you and the likes of Bethany Williams and others have always been real champions of sustainability in the design and fashion world. And you are, really working super hard to make it accessible across different creative industries. You've done this incredible recent project with Aesop. You've worked very hard with the Victoria and Albert Museum. What would be your one wish for consumers to engage with sustainability moving forward? Because it's such an important sort of buzzword that keeps being, used, perhaps overused, but, you make it part of your own daily habits. How would you wish for consumers to do that?
It's a really good question. I think the first thing is to take us a bit of a step back, because sustainability, it's become quite a muddy word, actually. Yeah. I think it means a lot of different things to a lot of different people. The really good news is that we've all woken up in the last 5 years, and particularly in the last 2 to 3 years, on our impacts on the environment. Programs like Blue Planet 2, all of a sudden, David Attenborough looking down the lens at the first time and saying, it's up to you to make a difference. It's really compelling, but it's also quite kind of challenging, I guess. Where do you start? But I think the most important thing is you kind of start somewhere and you do something, right? And even when I come back to the face coverings we've created together, they're a really good example, actually, of the best way that you can consider bringing together design, creativity, and your own impact by actually making a choice to choose something that is responsibly made to begin with. It's reusable. You can wash them. You're not going to throw this in the bin at the end of the day. It's reusable. It's designed really well. It's going to last a long time. And people don't talk about longevity enough, actually, in all of this. Making something really well to begin with that's going to last a long time. That's kind of the best answer in all of this. So to answer the question in very simple terms, you as an individual have an amazing opportunity and also obligation about the choices that you make. And you can choose to basically consume less, consume better, make the choices that are going to ultimately reduce impact. And that would be the biggest kind of call out that I would say, is that, you can't do everything overnight, but if you really just consider those steps that you are taking, and we don't talk about sustainability at Raeburn, we talk about responsibility. And we think we have a responsibility as a brand to do the right things, to provide great products. But we also think our customers and our community have a responsibility to really consider what they're doing with those products, and indeed any others that they're using in their daily life. So I really kind of flip it. I think it's so much now a kind of partnership between brands, between individuals, between communities, and it's about us all working together to make a positive difference together. So start small, do the right things, and we're all going to be going the right way, I'd say.
One of the difficulties around sustainability at a mass level is that it can often seem quite unaffordable. Organic produce is generally more expensive than non-organic. And one of my gripes is that, it's all well and good to talk about, I'm almost going to go back on myself and say, look, designer and sustainability seems like obvious bedfellows in some respect, because, you can add a sort of designer price tag, and sustainability can be then become, at the price that you need to sell it at. But I think one of the things that working with a mass producing partner like us is that actually organic doesn't have to be very expensive if sourced correctly, if sourced from the right farms. And it doesn't have to be that 30-40% extra markup on a product. And so what I think, and I don't know what your opinion is on materials being more expensive, and then therefore it being passed on to the consumer and how they can then respond and consume better.
Yeah, I completely get it. I understand, people do need affordable clothing, affordable products, all of those things. It's completely undeniable. But we're definitely now at least approaching a point where you have near parity with raw materials, which is incredible. And then the other kind of element here that probably people don't talk about enough is the value of the product that's being produced. And again, the longevity of the item that's actually coming out the other side. It's kind of easy to make something cheap and make something that's not going to last. Making something well that is going to last, and then it's completely embedded with that value through all the supply chain. That's the key with all of this. And I think we still need that moment as people to kind of still wake up. We had it a little bit, as I say, with Blue Planet 2, but we haven't quite had it in the fashion industry. There needs to be that moment where people really understand that we cannot continue consuming all of this stuff, and not just fashion, to be really fair, at the rate we are. There needs to be then, this, as I say, this wake up. This isn't about even the sort of the individual price of a single unit per se. It's about all of this spending and whether it could be done in a much better way and a much more positive way overall.
And I think that's why, to close off, I think that's why with intelligent and creative people like you, leading the conversation across different industries is powerful, it's potent, because you have a way of communicating which, a producer who doesn't have that creativity will not be able to kind of broadcast to a larger audience. So I think it's so vital for us to unite different industries together to then support this giant collaborative effort. So the COP26 Climate Change Summit is happening in November at Glasgow this year. And I think it's very important for consumers to be able to engage with this almost lofty summit where global leaders are gathering and industry titans are gathering. But actually, we as simple human consumers should be able to say, actually, when I wake up in the morning and I want to brush my teeth, do I really need to leave the tap running? When I'm going to work, do I need to buy something which is, made with disposable plastic and disposable packaging, or shall I take something to work which is homemade? And therefore, these simple steps, you can actually really be quite a responsible consumer in simple daily habit changes.
Exactly that. And as a touch, I think about making small changes. You can't do everything overnight, and then that makes the big changes together. So.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much, Christopher. Do you have any parting comments that you'd like to tell our audience about, or any new projects that you want to give us an exclusive on?
Yeah, we always have plenty of new products going on. The thing I'd like to say, actually, the whole of Raeburn, as I mentioned earlier, it's about craft, creativity and community coming together. The space that we have here, the Raeburn Lab in Hackney, we're actually open to the public 3 days a week. We also do tours of the space, so it's all about education and inspiration. And I guess the really big thing I would say is, if you're in London, please come and visit us. And if you're not, please follow us on social media, so Raeburn Design, Christopher Raeburn. And this whole conversation is about being really about the spirit of collaboration. So we really see that's not just you and I speaking today. It's about the whole community out there. So yeah, we really welcome any feedback and look forward to working alongside people to make a positive difference.
Amazing. Well, I can attest that your lab is beautiful, and I've purchased some beautiful cushions from you out of the old silk maps, which is just behind you, which you've created into a raincoat. But it's an incredible experience. It should be on the sort of tourist map of London as a
We're working on it.
You're working on it. No, it's beautiful, and it's got your clean lines of design and a really inspiring studio to be part of. So Thank you so much to you and your team, always for giving us so much time and effort, and 100%. That's what I can say, that your team always give it 100%. It's always such a delight to work with you. I learned so much from you personally, and I'm just incredibly grateful for Bags of Ethics to be true friends of Raeburn.
Well, here's to the next 10 years then.
Here's to the next 10 years.
With a cup of tea now.
Yeah,
Bye-bye.
lots of love. Bye. Bye-bye.